This is the Alden Report.
Hey, it's Mike Alden. I hope you're enjoying the Alden Report as much as I am. I love bringing to you new and exciting people that add value to your life. I'm also super excited to announce my latest book, Bestseller Secrets. Listen, if you're an author, maybe you're thinking about writing a book, maybe you've already written a book, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to continue to grow your brand, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to bring in more leads, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you wrote a cookbook or a children's book, maybe you wrote a fantasy book, a self-help book, a tell-all book, a novel. It doesn't really matter. In my latest book, Bestseller Secrets, I give you all the information that I've literally spent millions of dollars trying to figure this thing out, and I'm going to give it to you absolutely free with my book, Bestseller Secrets. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com. I give you all the information that I've spent literally millions of dollars trying to figure this whole world out. My books have gone on to do amazing things. I'm a 3-time Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author. I've hit #1 on Amazon hundreds of times. My books have been the #1 book in the world against all books in every category. And I've also done this for other authors. And I'm giving you this information absolutely free. Just go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. You got to pay a small processing fee, but it doesn't really matter, again, because I've spent millions of dollars. And here's the other secret. You can do all this stuff yourself. If you don't have a team, that's okay. If you don't have a lot of time, that's okay. You read the information in my book, again, whether you just started writing a book, whether you've written the book, whether you wrote the book years ago, and you want to kind of resurrect it. In my book, Bestseller Secrets, I show you exactly what you need to do, and I'm giving you the book absolutely free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com, download the book, take that information, use it to become a bona fide, legitimate #1 bestseller. I show you how to become a #1 bestseller in less than 24 hours. And again, I'm giving you this information for free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com.
This is the Alden Report.
All right. Well, my name is Michael Alden. This is the Alden Report. We are here again in my home office. I'm rocking the $1 sunglasses for those of you who are watching. I bought 10 of them because my other glasses, if I sit on them, I'll get upset and I don't want to break them. But I do love my glasses, even though I technically probably don't need them right now because it's not that sunny out. Anyway, enough about me. My next guest, I'm super excited for my next guest. He's a good friend of mine, and he's been doing some really, really interesting things, especially kind of with the advent of what happened with Corona. He is a world-renowned fitness expert. He's been a trainer to the stars. He's been doing it for 30 plus years. He's been featured in Muscle and Fitness, Flex Magazine. What else? Muscle and Fitness, Flex Magazine, Iron Man. He is a best-selling author. He's really kind of the go-to guy and has been the go-to guy, especially in that Hollywood area. If you're looking, to get fit fast, if you're looking to actually get fit, as you age, he's really been the guy. But what's interesting, and the reason why I wanted to have him on today, even though he's just a friend of mine, because he's actually been on the Alden Report before, I wanted to have him on because what he's doing right now, this whole evolution of online training is really something that's taking off, and he's really kind of one of the pioneers in it. So please help me welcome Mr. John Bezerra. John, thanks so much for being my guest.
My pleasure, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, man. You look good as usual. I'm rocking my beard too, just the COVID beard or whatever, but you look fit as always.
Well, yeah, at least your beard's not gray.
It is. So it was a little bit gray. It's a little gray down there a little bit for those who are watching. So listen, again, thanks for coming on. I know you're super busy now, especially with what's going on with your new business. So tell us a little bit about first your background. Like, how did you get into this whole health and wellness and fitness space?
Well, back to the beginning of time, and kindergarten, the typical story, got beat up. Grandpa put me in martial arts, so that wouldn't happen anymore. And then it just kind of transcended into wrestling and sports throughout the years. But really what happened is, in college, I was going to be a doctor. I was going to sorry about my dogs. I was going to Stanford to be a doctor. I got hurt playing football, and that was it. So it was either that, quit, hang up your hat and move on, or try to figure something else out. My real passion was wrestling. So I had an offer for wrestling, but I needed to figure a way to get around the fact that I told wrestling no because I chose football. So I kind of lied a little bit and said I changed my mind and wanted to wrestle. Long story longer, I hired a personal trainer, Mr. America at the time, Joe DeAngelis, to do my rehab. And I really started liking what he did better than what I was learning in medical school. And, in a nutshell, in medical school, I was learning to interview somebody and give them medicine. And he was able to help people not need a doctor. And that really, appealed to me. So I jumped into wrestling at Cal Poly, got my degree in kinesiology. And then luckily I just got together with the right person and got a lot of leads in the Hollywood field. And here we are 35 years later. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
So your degree in kinesiology, for those of you who don't know, I believe it's like the study of human movement, right, and
Yes.
everything. It's essentially one of the undergrad degrees that you do follow if you are going to go on to be a doctor. It's either biology, anatomy, or both, or kinesiology, right? So, when you so like at what point though did you say like like what was the impetus that caused you to say I don't want to go down the traditional MD route versus let me study kinesiology, let me study the really what's going on in the human body? Was there one like aha moment for you, or is it just like this is you got
I
that
think so.
trainer?
Yeah, going through the rehab myself for my back, there's a lot more appreciation for for the body when you actually have an injury and
Right.
the way it's able to heal itself. And there's two options: there's take these pills to numb the pain, or do these exercises to improve yourself. So just with my background in sports, I mean, it literally just lined up. It should have been my first thought. And that my trainer at the time was this world renowned bodybuilder, and he drove a cool Jeep and he was done working by noon. And I was like, this is kind of cool, so I think I want to do that.
So
So yeah, my aha moments, the injury and that transition into just kind of reprogramming the way I was thinking at the time.
that makes sense. And so you were at one point competed again. If you go to johnbezerra.com, you can just see the pictures of you. So you competed professionally in the bodybuilding space. Is that accurate?
Somewhat, yeah. So
Okay.
my whole goal, being I wasn't a 300-pound bodybuilder, and at the time that I competed in the early 90s, there was no weight classes
Okay.
except in the amateur level. So when I turned pro as a middleweight, I stepped on the scale that day at just under 180. I got my pro card, but then my only option to compete pro was competing against the guys that are 250 plus. So I really kind of just used getting my pro card for credibility. I
Right.
knew that I was going to be a trainer. I knew that was the world I was going to live in. So, I hit my goal. I won what, can only be kind of uh, compared to the Olympics, maybe kind of bodybuilding's Olympics. And so I just really used it for credibility. I didn't really have a desire to beat myself up to do the things I needed to do to compete at that level. And talking good, bad things, but
Yeah,
not
but
good.
so but I think too you're downplaying a little bit like the whole pro thing, and I know a little bit about that space. So in order to become a pro, you have to win a sanctioned event, right? Is that
Yeah,
how it
you
works?
have to win one of three events: the
Okay.
national championships, the USA or the North American, and I won the nationals. So, kind of give you perspective, nowadays in bodybuilding, there's a lot of different classes: physique, men's physique, classic physique, and there's different heights and weights and everything. When I turned pro, only 7 people a year turned pro in the entire sport.
Wow.
So now it's probably 1,000, 1,500. So it was kind of a big deal, I guess, back then. But it's one of those things. If you're on that day and you win, you could beat people better than you if they're off a little bit. It's for lack of better words, it's just whoever shows up that day where they dialed everything in, they're the winner. But it was challenging.
I think it's also when we're going to talk a lot about what you're doing right now in you can essentially kind of almost duplicate yourself in a way, and you're scalable and you're international now because of how you're training people literally virtually. I know you still have a lot of clients that you're also doing in person, even in even in the state of the world we're in. But I want to also to kind of stress, and maybe you could talk a little bit more about it, where the proliferation of these kind of like online fitness certifications and these nutrition kind of certifications. you there are so many people out there, they literally spend a couple months, they get their they take a quick test, now all of a sudden they have some sort of certification, and now they're working at a gym and they're training people. But you you have 30 years in this world, but regardless of the 30 years, you have an actual degree in kinesiology, which is again the study of the human body and the movement of the human body. You're a
Right.
professional bodybuilder. You've trained people for years. You've done it, right. Your foundation. I would, you said, you've won events. I don't think it gets much higher, right? I mean, the only next step for you would be to get your MD or or something like that, right?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, for sure.
PhD,
And
maybe, I guess.
that's kind of like the Achilles heel of the industry and people that's done it a long time is, I mean, a couple months, but literally you could get on the internet as we're speaking and you could be certified as a trainer in a couple hours. So yeah, there's a huge problem with that. And I always tell people when they're looking for a coach, look for a coach that kind of specializes in their niche. So
Right.
if you have someone over 50, why would you have a 20 something year old trainer that's never had the aches and pains and the things going on in life that that you've experienced? So I always tell people, make sure that it's a credible trainer, look at their education. There's no regulation on personal training in the US. You don't really even have to have a certification unless the gym requires it.
Really?
Where, you go over the border into Canada, you have to have a bachelor's degree, which I think's something that should be looked into, because there's a lot, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great trainers out there. There's a lot of great trainers,
You need a
but
certification to cut hair and to put makeup on.
you have to take a test and yeah. And so it's kind of crazy when you're talking about someone's health. And I do a questionnaire before I start with anybody. And if I decide that I can't help that person, I'm not going to try. But one of the first questions is, do you have injuries, knee, back, shoulder, and neck? If you're over 40, you probably do.
Right.
It's just, you do things in we're born perfect and we do things throughout our life to mess ourselves up. So at the Fit 40 and over group, you always have to, address health issues, and you got to address injuries. And if you're a trainer and you're not finding out the backstory and just kind of loosely prescribing someone a diet and a exercise regimen, I mean, you should be ashamed of yourself. You got to get to know your clients, and you need the education to help that person. And if you don't, you shouldn't try. But that's me.
No, no, I think what you're saying, it's valid, and I wanted to bring it up because I've been working out since I was 13, and you see a lot of people, and you know what? There are still some trainers. The gym I've been going to since it's still there. It's still the same gym, and there are some trainers that are still there now than they were there then. So that they have staying power, and obviously, they know what they're doing, or they wouldn't still be there. But yeah, you also see kids just coming in and out, just training people. And the other funny thing is that I see these people training people and they're like out of shape. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I would consider myself in okay shape, but I certainly wouldn't be in the point where like, hey, you want to look like me? No, like I'm not there. You know what I mean? But I think that that's interesting too. So, I mean, you not only are you in shape now, you've pretty much been in shape your entire life, right? Because it's what you do. I mean, it's who you are, right?
Yeah, but I'm human. We all have ups and downs, and the pandemic hit me too, where all of a sudden you're locked in a box 24 hours a
Right.
day. And I was taking a few clients in my gym at the house, but I didn't want to work out with rubber bands.
Right,
So,
right.
but the key is being there and have done it for so long. When you do slip or you have those ups and downs, it's pretty easy to flip the switch
Right.
and get back to it quickly. And I think, if I were, an accountant and I was overweight at this point in my life, I would want to find somebody, close to my age that's had some of the struggles and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we all slip, but the key is when you slip, just jump back into it, flip the switch, and, can't cry over spilt milk, right?
Yeah, I do want to talk to you about that mindset too, where you see it in the diet industry. It's why the diet industry is so big, is where, people, they go on a diet, especially now, whenever people listen to this, maybe listening to this months from now, but it is January 2021. Um, and what we're going to talk about can apply anytime, anywhere in the world, but, so like the mindset of, you get into a program, you start, and I'm sure you see this all the time, and then you screw up, you fall off the wagon, you eat, like me, eat, pizza at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh man, I screwed the whole thing up. How does someone overcome that? Like, what do you tell somebody? Like, because I know you obviously you do nutritional coaching and counseling with people and show people what to eat, what not to eat. So you got somebody that you're training and they're working out with you, and they're like, man, I screwed up big time last night. What do you tell them to do?
Well, like I said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen to most of us. And as a coach, the best thing you can do is this positive, affirmation.
Mm.
And, there's coaches in the gym. You've seen it. You've been in the gym for everybody, where they're the aggressive military, beat you down type coaches. I don't believe in that. I believe in lifting people up. So if you mess up, okay, let's put it behind us. Let's up the water a little bit for the next couple of days. Let's clean, the starches out, and we'll jump back on track. So speed bumps are going to happen, but it's after the speed bump, is really what's going to affect you. So, it's just literally, it's all mindset. If you slip, jump back into it. Don't let it beat yourself up, and you move forward.
And I also think too, that's why it's so important to have like a coach like you. Everyone always gives the analogy that, all the Tom Brady has a coach, all the professional athletes have coaches. But again, you and I have been friends for a while, and I'm all friends with others that are also in your world. And sometimes I'll screw up. We'll just be talking, and they'll just be, give me, quote, free advice on what to do. So I want to ask you too about like what's going on again right now. So we're in the middle, well, I wouldn't say we're in the middle of the pandemic, but we're in this pandemic, and who knows when people are listening to this, but the world is forever going to be different, right?
Yep.
And do you think, so right now I think that there's a real, and maybe you can just give us a little bit more. Right now I think there's a real challenge we're going to see years from now. I think we're going to see a proliferation of heart disease and some of these diseases that we were accustomed to seeing, because now we're so sedentary, and we have been for this period of time. Um, like, do you think that's an accurate statement, or like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, 100%. But even before the pandemic, compared to when you and I were kids, and usually, I mean, if you think back, if you're over 40, and there was usually one heavy kid in class,
Right.
right? I mean, you probably still remember his name,
Yep.
Alfie. I remember his name from fifth grade.
I do remember
And,
one. I don't want to say his name, though. Yeah, I do know. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Right.
so it's true. But think about now, over 50% of all kids, elementary school age, are overweight or obese. So it's been a constant evolution. Um, I got a new coffee machine. It's yelling at me right now. It's cleaning
Hey,
itself.
listen, I get it. What's interesting, and John said to me, he goes, Mike, this looks like your office, because he's been to my office in my. I said, no, I just moved this, what's behind me, from my office in my office here to my home office. So this is
Yeah.
the new world, man. And again, we're going to talk about the new world and what you're doing and how you're really helping people. But yeah, so um,
So
so
yeah,
sedentary
100%.
lifestyle.
It's been a constant evolution for the last 30 years on what shape our countries got into, and other countries are following suit, but as a whole, we're pretty bad. And when the pandemic hit, it's like this. It's real simple. You're in high school, you're playing a sport, you're active, you're moving all the time. You kind of develop an eating pattern at a young age, and for the most part, you stay to that eating pattern for your life. Just like any type of programming when you grow up with the things your parents put in your head. But you're eating a certain way, high school stops, and then you have to, you go to college, get a regular job. That one sport's not in there anymore, where that one sport might have burned an extra 3,000 to 5,000 calories a week. Okay. So if you don't adjust your eating and your calories to your lifestyle and your expenditure, you're gonna gain weight.
Right.
And we've seen that in the most dramatic form during the pandemic. I mean, you're right. It's a completely different world. So if you're not exercising and not moving as much as normal and you don't adjust the calories to compensate, you're going to gain fat. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, you see that too with like professional athletes. I remember like Charles Barkley,
oh
you see him,
yeah.
and Shaq, who's already just a massive guy, and
Shaq weighs what, like 800 pounds now? He looks like,
yeah,
he looks like King Kong.
yeah. I mean, it was already massive as it was, and
Yeah.
like you said, he's not burning those calories like he used to. I mean, you look at like an athlete like Michael Phelps. I haven't seen what he looks like, but they say he was burning like 20,000 calories a day. That's what he was
Yeah.
burning,
Right.
just from which is a huge number
Yeah.
based off of just because he was swimming for
And
6 8.
can you imagine how much he would have to eat?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know.
mean, that's a full-time job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about. By the way, we're on with John Bezerra. He is a world-renowned fitness expert. He's been featured in every major fitness publication. He has his degree in kinesiology. He's really been kind of like the fitness trainer to the stars. He was a professional bodybuilder, and he's really doing some really, really unique stuff. So if you're interested in John, you can go to johnbezerra.com, but you can also just text John to 978-999-3113. Again, text John to 978-999-3113. And what we're going to do is we're going to just send you his site. And, he's got some programs where he can really kind of give you like an assessment of where you're at and the things that you need to do. He does that for free, I believe. And then if you decide that you wanted to, engage John and his team, you can certainly do that as well. So you can just text John to 978-999-3113. So I might have done that a little bit early because I want to get into like what you're doing. It's super interesting to me. I mean, you see now we're seeing these apparatuses like obviously Peloton. Everybody knows Peloton, or the Mirror, or Tonal, and now NordicTrack. Like everybody's trying to like follow. I think what Peloton started, which is this virtual in-home kind of training stuff. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with training people like over the internet. Because I got to be honest, like I don't know, I didn't get it until I don't know, maybe till a couple months ago, or maybe when you and I talked, because I just feel like I'm the type of guy where I feel like I need to be in the gym if I'm going to work out. By the way, today's Thursday. I haven't worked out all week because I've just been so busy, which is such an excuse, right? I could easily just do something. So tell us about what you're doing and how it's working.
Well, it's interesting you say that because that's a perfect example of busy people.
Right,
And even me, even being a pro athlete,
right,
if I don't have to go to the gym for a client, it's hard to get there.
right,
So when you're busy and you're stuck at home, if you don't have that coach or someone, or at least an accountability partner, it's really easy to blow it off.
right.
So what's interesting about in online training, and I'm 11 months into this now. I started like kind of right when the pandemic, maybe just a little before that, and I didn't know what to expect. You know, before I would be either, at a gym, or I would travel to sometimes working on movie sets with actors and so forth. And it was
We didn't even
cool,
talk about
right?
your acting career, but I don't think we had enough time. But he's also been
Yeah, like
featured. He's been on
that's
tons of shows. You've definitely seen him on things like Sons of Anarchy and things like that. But anyway, so yeah, so normally it's a one-on-one physical interaction, but we haven't been able
right.
to do that. But so yeah, so
So what I kind of did is I figured and it's interesting, and I'm going to say this because it's factual, but it's going to sound crazy. I think that in the last 11 months, my online clients have actually been more productive and had better results than some of my face-to-face clients. And the reason I say that is because sometimes, like us going to a doctor's appointment, we go to the doctor's appointment, we get the results, whatever, we're done. I think sometimes when you go to a trainer face to face, you kind of go in the gym, and once that work's done in the gym, you're done. But with
right,
the online, we're interacting more with the nutrition. So, uh, I mean, here's the thing: you could go in the gym and push weights around, and as long as you're not hurting yourself, you're going to get some results from that. And what most people don't understand is it's all about the nutrition, and most people just don't have an idea of that because we'll see, hey, Google this diet, or someone recommend the keto or the paleo or this or that. That's cool, but we're not machines. You and I could buy a Cadillac Escalade, and both of our Cadillac Escalades would be exactly the same. They get the same gas mileage, They need the same oil changes. They have the same nuances, but humans are all different. And what a lot of coaches do, or even people just trying to take it in their own hands, is they'll Google something, or a coach will give you a diet, but you don't even know how your body works. So what I do with my online clients is we do about a week's assessment where I analyze their food. They have to send food pics every day. Not only do I see the calories there, but I also see their patterns, when they eat, when their bigger meals are, their smaller bills, how many hours apart. Then we look into sleep, exercise expenditure, and NEAT training, which NEAT training just means non-exercise aerobic training. That would be like you or I vacuuming our house or mowing the lawn. So all those things have to come into play. And once you know how many calories a day you typically burn and what you're currently eating, and if your weight stayed the same for X amount of days, you have a baseline. That's where your body wants to live. And unless you're doing all that math, you're not going to get the results that you see from professional athletes.
I think it's
So
I think it's interesting too. What you said was is I've used trainers before in the one-on-one and years ago, and I remember his name is Michael Atwood. Actually, I'm probably going to have him on, and I would be training with him every morning. I was at the gym at 5 in the morning, and he would, would always ask me, what did you eat? What have you been eating? And I would tell him, and I was like, and I would feel like, and he would be like, all right, write it down, and I would write it down. But let's be honest with ourselves here. It's really easy to just omit something, not tell them, but you're holding people more accountable. Like what you said, you have people send a picture of what they ate.
I do. And the funny thing is, I've done this so long that I can get with just in a couple grams, if it's on their plate. Whereas if they're using like one of the apps on the phone,
Right.
I've kind of analyzed some of the apps and they're kind of far off. One guy sent a picture in with a chicken breast with some seasoning on it, and the app put 30 grams of carbs in there. So I don't trust those anymore. I just kind of go off, what I've done for all these years. But you're right. When they're sending a picture, they can't lie.
Right.
Obviously they can not send pictures, but it's funny. In the last 11 months, I've worked with predominantly 40 and over, and the group I've worked with has lost over 3,000 pounds, and
Did
9
you say
out of 10
3,000 pounds?
as a group. Yeah. And we're talking about, I don't know how many people now,
Right.
but probably 50 to 75 over that time frame. But it's really interesting just to see when you interact with people and keep them accountable. Because as a trainer face to face, I would do the same thing. I would have clients lined up and I would only have enough time for those clients in the gym. I couldn't do what I'm able to do now as a online coach,
Yeah.
and it's really cool because this is the first time I'm sitting in my living room and I just talked to someone from Bulgaria before we got on here. So you get to meet all these people all over the world. And so, as bad as the pandemic is, and you and I both know, if the people that survived the rest of their, the first part of their lives and thrived, they will through this.
Right.
100%. So it's kind of, it's a very new thing, but it's the way of the future. It just really is the way of the future.
And it's also like, again, we're in the pandemic, but it's obviously it's safer, right? It's
Mhm.
safer for everybody. So let me ask you this. I want to dive into a little bit. So do I need so I engage you as my coach, I guess we'll call you a coach slash trainer. Do I need weights? That's what a lot of people
No,
ask that question. Okay, so I don't
no,
need weights.
or, the question is, what is your goal? Are you trying to be in the NFL at this point or in a bodybuilding
I would love,
show?
I one of my closest friends is a scout in the NFL. I told him I think I got 1 year. I mean,
Right. At least one play, right?
he refuses to draft me, so I don't. I think my NFL career is over. So all right, so you don't need weights necessarily for the average everyday person. So I'm like I said, I'm like perfect in your demo. I'm 45 years old. I could definitely stand to lose some weight. So the setup of it, do I need to be in front of is it in front of a computer while I'm working out with you? Is it my phone? Like what else do I need? What other things do I need? I'm guessing we definitely need internet access and some form of camera, but what
Well,
else?
you need a cell phone with cell service.
That's it.
That's all you need.
Okay.
So when I initially, and I try to limit the people I'm working with, because the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to jeopardize the quality that I'm able to give my clients.
Right.
So, I do keep it under a certain amount of people. But once we do the initial consultation, I usually do like a Facebook video or just a phone call. And I do the initial assessment, find out about their family health, their injuries. At that point, if they decided to hire me, I'll send them an invite to the app. So I'll deliver all the workouts through an app, and I'll kind of show you. I don't know if it's going to pick up on it, but it's just a branded app. And then once they click on to their program for the day, it'll say chest tries, whatever it may be. There's a video tutorial on how to use it with the correct form. They put in how much weight they used, how many reps, and as soon as they're done with their workout, it notifies me, and I keep a real-time account of their workouts. But going back to the initial consultation, two things I look at over 40 is we look at internal inflammation, and you know a lot about that.
Sure.
And we look at structural misalignment. So most of people over 40 has a shoulder, knee, back, or neck injury, or at least pain. So the thing I look at is I always have pictures sent to me. I look at their structure, see where everything lines up. If there's anything out of balance, we try to correct that with the weight training too, because you'll know as soon as you get in your 50s, it's a lot different. And then it just keeps getting worse unless you do something about it. So, first thing we always start with internal, inflammation, which is overall health, and structural realignment. And then we always kind of reverse engineer the program to fit the specific needs of that individual. So
now, is the training that you do, does someone get to a point where, and I don't even know if this is a goal. Like I have a friend of mine that wrote a book called Hired to Quit. Like he actually teaches people how to leave him, and no one ever leaves because then they realize they want to stay with him. But does someone get to a point where they're like, all right, cool, I've learned enough, I'm good, I can do this on my own, and do they come back? Like what does that part of the world usually look like?
So, usually face to face, you keep clients longer than you would online. And so when I was doing the research, and I actually paid for a company, basically an education company, to learn how to do the transition.
Sure.
I learned a whole lot. And then I also learned a whole lot on my own.
Right.
But typically in online training, most clients last about a month and a half. That's what the research says. I've had clients now online that's been with me for 10 plus months.
Wow.
So my goal is to make sure that I'm always moving that person in the right direction. And part of doing that is when you're doing those changes, you're educating them. So to answer your question, I want to feel, of course, I want to feel this way. I want to feel that the majority of my clients, when they're done with me, know more than most personal trainers.
Right.
And I've had a few become apprentices because they've loved it so much.
So what is again, we're on with John Bezerra. He is a fitness trainer to the stars. He's been featured in every fitness magazine that you can imagine. He's a former professional bodybuilder himself. He's been doing it again for 30 years. He's also a good friend of mine. So you can trust him because I trust him. So, and if you did want to reach out to John, you can just text John to 978-999-3113. We'll go ahead and send you a link where you can actually get a free assessment. He'll do a free assessment for you, kind of show you where you're at, and then you decide whether or not working together, makes sense. So you can text John, John, to 978-999-3113. We'll go ahead and send you to a special dedicated link for our viewers and listeners of the Alden Report. So, what does it look like? So I texted you, I came to the special link, and I filled out the form, what have you, and I do the initial assessment, and I engage you. What does my day look like with you? What does my week look like with you? Are we working every day? Are we meeting every day? Are we talking every day? Walk us through like what that normally looks like.
So the thing that we got to determine is first the goal, that's the week assessment where I analyze everything. And then we also got to figure out what your lifestyle is. So if you're working 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, that's an issue. Typically what we want to do is for most people, we do weights 3 days a week, push, pull, upper body, legs one day. And then we fit cardio in the days in between. And we always take at least one day off, just a recovery day. So it does depend on the schedule for the person. And if they have a very limited schedule, we have to adjust again, like we talked about. If they can't put in all the extra effort in the gym, we have to adjust the calories.
Okay.
So it's trial and error. But beginning of the week, you're going to get the first workout on the app. You're going to do that workout. It's going to notify me. You're continually sending food pics, and we call this phase one. And after the initial consultation, phase one lasts until we hit a plateau. And most people get kind of frustrated with plateaus, but they're there for a reason. Basically, they're not a bad thing. And most people don't know how to get past them. It's just your body. Like let's use the worst case scenario. You eat McDonald's 3 times a day and you supersize it, and you're having X amount of calories.
Were you with me? You weren't with me today, were you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Where did you do that?
No, I did not do that.
But then we say, okay, we need to cut the calories back. Let's not supersize. So you're reducing the calories by several hundred a week and you lose weight. But eventually your brain goes, oh, okay, so now we live here, and it stabilizes.
Right.
So it just creates a new baseline. So phase one, we run that until we hit a plateau, and then we play some metabolic tricks on the body into phase two. And then the initial goal the overall goal is to get people close to their goal or to their goal. And then we put them in what we call a maintenance phase, where we kind of reverse diet, where we start adding calories back in at strategic times and bring their calories up a little bit to spark the metabolism to work. So, I mean, again, it's tons of math. You don't look at fitness as math, but it really is.
So there is some sort of system, and there's systems in place that allow you to essentially be scalable. And then there's also a lot of individual stuff depending on who the person is, right?
Absolutely. And again, you could take 10,000 people and 10,000 cars. The cars will all be the same. Every one of those 10,000 people are different. So there's a little, if you're a great coach, and like you said, like Tom Brady's coach or Mr. Olympia's coach or Jordan's coach, I mean, you're talking millions of dollars at stake. You're not going to miss any parts of that puzzle. And in fitness, and this is true for almost everybody, until you've actually educated yourself or had a great coach, it's like buying a puzzle and then, like a jigsaw puzzle, taking a handful of the pieces and throwing it away and then trying to put your puzzle together. If you don't have all the pieces, you're going to get so-so results.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what do you say to somebody who's on the fence right now? They're listening, they're watching, maybe they even did text John to the number that we gave out, and they don't take the next step, but they're kind of like on the fence. Like what, exclusive of you just giving them a crazy deal or whatever, like, the one thing that came to my mind, maybe I'll even answer my own question, is when you talk about millions of dollars at stake, people's lives are at stake too, right? That's worth more than millions.
Oh, absolutely. And, and if it's a cost issue, I mean, what's more expensive, spending a few $100s on a trainer or having a heart attack?
Right.
Being unhealthy is really expensive. You're unhealthy, whether it's diabetes, heart disease, whatever it may be, there's a point where it gets bad enough where it's taking you out of your work mode. And what's expensive then? You're not getting paid. So fitness, if it's done correctly, it's the best investment. Looking in the mirror and have something look back at you that you're proud of is as much as having a nice new Porsche is cool. Nothing compares to that. So I always tell people, I go, it doesn't matter to me whether you do it or not, but you have to want it. I mean, that's the main thing. You have to want it enough where you're going to follow through, and I tell people straight out, I go, if you don't think you can do it, let's not waste each other's time. Because I don't want you to pay me for something you're not getting benefited for.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. So, where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you see that? Do you see so let's assume in a couple months from now, but it'll be longer than that, but let's just assume a couple months from now, pandemic's gone, we're back to normal, whatever's the new normal, physical interaction is there. Gyms are opening up. Your home gym that you train people in is opening up. You can go to people's houses. Do you see this part of the training world? Does it have staying power? Is it going to be here forever?
It does. And if you think back to in the bodybuilding world, there's just a handful of coaches that have all the high level athletes, and they've made a living on being that guy that has the answer They have the solution to the problem. And they could open every gym up in the world. My business online is going to continue to get stronger because I feel in most part, I can solve those problems,
Right.
and other coaches should always have that as a goal, not the money or not not anything in your pocket, but if you're solving people's problems and changing people's lives, you know how it is.
Sure.
Once you change someone's life, they're a client forever. They refer people forever. So I just see online getting stronger and stronger, to be honest.
I know you don't have a whole ton of time, but I wanted to ask you this one too. I don't, it just kind of came to mind, and I don't even know how you're going to answer it. But they say a lawyer should never ask a question that he doesn't already know the answer to. But here we go. You earlier you talked about mentors that you're taking on. So someone's listening right now, and maybe let's say they are a personal trainer that does have the proper pedigree and the right education and the right background and things like that, and they come to you and say, John, this is something I've been I've wanted to do. Can somebody reach out to you and you, I mean, do you have the time to take on some mentors? Are you doing a little bit of that as well?
Yeah, I do. I do a little bit of that, and it's kind of ironic you're mentioning this, but I have about 4 of my clients that I've helped over the last 11 months now as apprentices. If you're if you're already a coach and have a good clientele and the knowledge and everything, we are launching in the end of January. I'm launching my own school for that specific reason.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, and this is something I went through with another company, and I learned so much. But you being a businessman, when you see other companies that do similar things to you, you see holes in places you can improve.
Sure.
So I'm just going to basically take everything I learned and everything I created and start a new school for trainers trying to transition to online. And that will be end of January. We're filming everything right now. And part of that program will be all the content within the program, but there will be a mentoring program that goes with it as well. So great question.
Yeah, well, that's great. So again, so if you are watching and or listening right now, and that's you, if you're a trainer and you have the proper background, I'm sure there's a lot of people that John turns down too. But again, because he heard him talk about this earlier, let's not waste each other's time. So if you feel as though that you have the right background and maybe you don't, maybe you just really want it, you can still reach out to him. He might say no, but maybe there's something there. So if you are a trainer, you want to grow your business, and you're looking for something, you can also reach out to John. So go ahead and just text John to 978-999-3113. Again, text John to 978-999-3113. We're going to probably send you to the same page that you would get to if you were a customer, but there's a note section there. You can also, ask him some questions. So, all right. Now, before I let you go, so again, real quick, I'm interested in what you got going. I'm not really sure. Like what's gonna put me over the edge? Like, what can you say to me right now that says, you got to do this, or you at least got to give it a shot?
Okay, I'm going to tell you something that's it's not really what you asked me, but this is a big selling point for people that have excess body fat. And a lot of people don't know this. For every pound of body fat you put on, your body creates 7 miles of new blood capillaries. 1 pound of fat, 7 miles of blood capillaries to supply the blood to that fat. 10 pounds is 70 miles. Do the math. So now you have all this new blood capillaries and excess blood, and your heart's a muscle, and its job is to push the blood out, pull the blood in. And when you start getting excess body fat and there's all that new blood circulating, your heart can't handle that, so it grows. And that's when it doesn't completely contract, it does this. And that's where you'll see the high blood pressure, the high resting heart rate. So literally, if you have excess body fat and you're over 40 especially, you could have a heart attack. So I always educate people on one of the reasons, the health reason that they really need to get in shape. But then there's always, just in cells, any cells we've ever learned about, there's wants and needs, right? And most of the thing that we act on is a want. I like the shiny new Porsche, but I need to lose 20 pounds. So that just goes into, look, if you don't lose body fat, you could have a heart attack. So that's why I always try to emphasize people, don't do it for what's looking back in the mirror. Do it for your health and your longevity. And the collateral damage or the collateral benefit from that is you'll look better. It's really that simple. But
that's it, man. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know what? We could probably talk a little bit longer, but I don't think we need to, man. I mean, as I was watching, again, for those watching, listening, John gave a kind of a pretty powerful demonstration with his hands about what the heart would look like, you know, if it was not healthy ultimately. So, John, you know, it's been awesome. I'm glad we were able to connect with this because again, for our viewers and listeners of the Alden Report, I like to bring on interesting people. John has been on before. He's also a best-selling author, and when he was on before, we were talking more mindset and business and things like that. And so, but what he's doing right now, I think, is interesting. It's timely, and I think people should learn more about it. So that's why he's been on, and I want to thank you, you know, for coming on, John. So again, folks, if you're interested in what he's talking about, whether you're a potential client or even maybe a potential business partner with John, you could just go ahead and text John to 978-999-3113. We'll go ahead and send you out some information. If you want to be a client, you just fill out some stuff. He'll do a free assessment for you. And again, if you want to be maybe potentially a business partner of his, you can do that as well. And you can also just find his information at johnbezerra.com. And by the way, his last name is spelled Bezerra, and the first name is John. He also has a very strong Instagram presence as well. You can just find him on Instagram. John, is it just John Bezerra? Is it John Bezerra or is it just John Bezerra one? I think
it's John Bezerra Fitness.
John Bezerra Fitness. Yeah, he's got, and also on his Instagram, you could see all the before and afters, and it's so powerful to see. So if you want to vet John a little bit before you reach out to him, you can check out his Instagram page, his Facebook page as well. And you know, he's someone that I've known for years. I trust him, and you just know he's, you know, doing the right thing and really kind of has your best interest at heart. So again, this has been another edition of the Alden Report here from my home office. That's John Bezerra. I'm Mike Alden, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Mike Alden. I hope you're enjoying the Alden Report as much as I am. I love bringing to you new and exciting people that add value to your life. I'm also super excited to announce my latest book, Bestseller Secrets. Listen, if you're an author, maybe you're thinking about writing a book, maybe you've already written a book, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to continue to grow your brand, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to bring in more leads, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you wrote a cookbook or a children's book, maybe you wrote a fantasy book, a self-help book, a tell-all book, a novel. It doesn't really matter. In my latest book, Bestseller Secrets, I give you all the information that I've literally spent millions of dollars trying to figure this thing out, and I'm going to give it to you absolutely free with my book, Bestseller Secrets. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com. I give you all the information that I've spent literally millions of dollars trying to figure this whole world out. My books have gone on to do amazing things. I'm a 3-time Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author. I've hit #1 on Amazon hundreds of times. My books have been the #1 book in the world against all books in every category. And I've also done this for other authors. And I'm giving you this information absolutely free. Just go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. You got to pay a small processing fee, but it doesn't really matter, again, because I've spent millions of dollars. And here's the other secret. You can do all this stuff yourself. If you don't have a team, that's okay. If you don't have a lot of time, that's okay. You read the information in my book, again, whether you just started writing a book, whether you've written the book, whether you wrote the book years ago, and you want to kind of resurrect it. In my book, Bestseller Secrets, I show you exactly what you need to do, and I'm giving you the book absolutely free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com, download the book, take that information, use it to become a bona fide, legitimate #1 bestseller. I show you how to become a #1 bestseller in less than 24 hours. And again, I'm giving you this information for free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com.